Head down to our buddy DJ there in Charlotte. DJ, turn 3. It's just notorious. It's just difficult because it's flat.
Yeah, so tough. And I never had to race there, so I can't imagine what you guys went through actually racing there. So it was hard enough for me just testing it and trying to get speed and trying to figure out exactly what it wanted. And, you know, this corner is so tough because it doesn't have a lot of banking. Even good friends can't get along in turn 3 here with Ryan Blaney and Chase Elliott in the 24 there at that time. So it's just so difficult trying to get through there 2, and at this time they were 3 wide there. But it's just such a tough entry. As you go down the back straightaway, there's not many markings. You're probably further away from the wall than anywhere else that you go and race as you enter a corner, and there's just no markings to judge by. And I always found, even trying to make speed, that if I tried to ease into the corner, then I was picking the gas up sooner. And this weekend, they're going to be out of the gas less than what they ever have been in trying to pick the gas up. But when you do that and you try to pick the gas up sooner, then the car wants to really push on the exit of turn 4 and you lose speed there. So it's just so very difficult. And I think with this rules package, that's just going to be magnified this weekend, especially with the traction compound that they have down in turns 1 and 2, where you're going to be able to carry a lot of speed off of turn 2 and down the back straightaway. Then that's going to make things very interesting. And as drivers start to side draft more, things are going to get really fun for us to watch, maybe not for the drivers that are participating.
Yeah, and really talking about turn 3 is as you get into the corner, it's so wide open, so it's inviting. As a driver, you see, okay, it's so wide, there's so much room. Man, I can drive this thing off into the corner, and I have so much room to play with. Well, the problem is, as you get down to the apex of turn 3, it's off camber. It kind of falls away from you, which is what corners aren't supposed to do for a stock car. You're used to the banking to grab the right side of the car to help turn the car. Well, as you go in, that track falls off camber, and that's what really makes the car tight. So what do? Well, I free the car up on entry so I can help it turn in the middle. Well, the problem is once you start doing that, you get too loose on entry, and that's by yourself. Yep. You get some cars next to you, and that's what we've seen in all those clips, and we're probably going to see on Saturday night, is the fact you get a car next to you, you get in there, and it just takes all that downforce off the right side of the car, and we're going to see probably a lot of wrecks because we've seen with this package what is one of the most important key elements of the race: restarts. Yep. So you come off turn 2, wide open in the gas, probably 2, 3, maybe at times 4 wide. Drivers, we're not very smart when we put the helmet on, so we all drive down in the corner.
Lose the air there.
At some point, the corner gets somewhat tight in the middle, and it falls off. So that's where we see all the accidents happen.
I've always felt like turn 3 to me is a corner that I either overdrive or underdrive, but I've never gone through there once and thought, I did that right. That was perfect, right? So you mentioned how having cars around you can be tough. Well, we found some video here from back there with the 98 and the 23 entering turn 3, and I want to actually point something out, which I think we should do here. This corner, it's flat, and it almost feels like it goes like that, right? Like it's just like you have to make that first turn, and then the rest of the corner is given away.
Well, and the thing is, too, as you talk about, is the fact that you see, like right there, a normal corner you would drive down to the apex.
Yep.
Well, because there's no banking there, you can't get down there, so you try to drive it in earlier, which makes the car upset center off.
And let's see what happens with that when you do that.
Yeah, let's
right
do that.
Here. Yeah. So we'll see the 23 has lost that side force you're talking about, has the 98 in the outside. He's just a sitting duck, and at this point right here, they're done.
Yeah.
Right? That's over. You've lost it basically on the entry already.
Yeah.
But by this point, this corner's done. You've lost everything. You don't have the side force. The 98's been hit. He's going to be hanging on for dear life all the way to the wall.
And you throttle up and you just praise the driver that you don't hit that big green thing up top.
Well, I don't think they're going to have that same scenario. The 23 might get away with this, but the 98, he ends up in the wall here, and that's going to be the end of his night. And that's just what's so tough, because you want to squeeze that car on the inside, but you can't, because if you do that, then you're leaving yourself vulnerable for them to have this same scenario.
And that's the thing. Even with the traction compound, the PJ1, whatever you want to call it, up there, it's still dirty. There's nobody running up there. So the fact is once a car gets up in that dirty gray area, it's like driving on ice. Yep. So that's where you see cars trying to save it, and once they get up there, it's game over.
And I just wanted to show that. So, like, basically you have all this black area. That's where the rubber's been laid down. It'll be kind of PJ1 this year. But once you get up there in that third, fourth groove, right now, you're done.
Yeah.
There's no grip. And there's so much dust up there, too.
You might as well make it just a hockey ice rink, because that's what it feels like.
I have been wondering forever, why did they add all of that space? You know? What are they doing up there?
just inviting us in. You just drive it in deeper. Look at all this space. Doesn't work.
Well, here's the thing, though. It's not just turn 3.
No.
You know there's other corners there.
There is other corners.
There is other corners. And this is what happens sometimes off of one of them, which is turn 2. Here we have Kyle Busch back in 2016 practice, and this is probably one of the coolest things I've ever seen in a stock car. We'll get going here. Look at this angle. Look at that. That's amazing. What does he go on to do? He saves it. How do you do that?
Okay, and that's the bigger thing is the first correction's cool, but how he doesn't hook it back up to the wall, how he saves it, that's like, there's drivers that can save that, but most of the time when they save it, they come back up and they hit right front first.
Right here when it's sitting on that left rear, you're going towards the wall.
No, Kyle Busch, he just hangs on to it. And I remember watching this in practice because I was sitting in the hauler and I was like, oh my goodness. And I remember him getting on there going, hey guys, little loose. It's like, yeah, slightly. But that's the thing is with the PJ1, I'm interested to see if it changes that a little bit because when they first did that, he was a little bit too wide. The right side of the car was, I mean, the tires were barely in the gray. That's what gets the car loose. So will the PJ1 help that?
Yeah, and DJ, I mean, that's the thing. Off turn 2, you're going to have a ton of speed this year. You're going to be in the throttle. That's going to have the speed to turn 3. But off turn 2, you're going to be looking and squeezing each other and trying to side draft. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah, it really is. And we're talking, showing a guy there that maybe have the best car control of anybody that we know. And not many people could say that, as you were pointing out. I just wonder on these restarts, what's going to be the preferred line? If you were to guess what might be a trouble spot, I think exit of turn 2 on a restart might be a place that'll be a trouble spot because of how the banking flattens out there so quickly. But as you two drivers think about the races you've been in there now, and with everything that we have going on, do you want to be on the outside or the inside line on these restarts?
That's a good question.
I really think if you're in the first couple of rows, you're going to want the outside because with these cars now at 550 horsepower, that momentum is critical. And we've seen it, especially at these 1.5 mile, 2 mile racetracks. So if you can start on the first couple of rows, pin that guy down, try to slow that car down a little bit, come off the exit of the corner and carry that speed into turn 3, that's probably where you're going to want to be. Now, rows 3, 4, 5 on back, that outside lane, that gets a little sketchy. So you kind of want to be the inside, but you know what? As we've seen, if you're on the inside lane, you get bogged down. The next row behind you usually isn't very nice about just, hey, I'm just going to push you. That guy usually ducks out and makes it 4 wide. So I'm going to say at least when you're going 4 wide in the corner, you're going to want to be on the bottom because if you miss the corner and you get loose, there's 3 other cars to help slow you down.
That's what I was thinking. If you're a couple rows back, you want to be outside so you can go to the third lane because that's worked a lot. It's worked for me this year. But otherwise, if you're in the front few rows, you're putting a lot of trust on that inside guy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a sketchy place to be as we just saw there.
Hey, Motorsports fans, thanks for watching. Make sure you hit subscribe before you go for all the latest news and highlights across motorsports.